Welcome to Trimami Cinema, the forest of this channel. How are you doing today? I spent the most time on making this video, from research to assets to even thinking about it. I got low-key obsessed, and today I saw a groundhog. And in spiritual meaning, the spiritual meaning of groundhog is actually being introspective because they hibernate. It was really funny because it was right in front of my window and in the garden, and I thought it was a squirrel, but no. And I tried to follow it and it quickly disappeared. So this video is dedicated to Miss Ariana Grande, an icon, a princess, a moment, or even a queen, some would say, and an image, a symbol that we project on from the collective subconscious as well. And I'm going to look at this image, this symbol, with utmost respect and kindness to her humanity, because in the end of the day, what I see is just another human being going for life, and I can look at the reflections of what I see in me as well, and vice versa, and relate in that way. However, yeah, I'm going to talk about spiritual and even psychological state of things from what we actually know, what she said herself, and some alleged things. So I hope you like this video, and let me know what you think in the comments. One might wonder, with all of the known controversies, if the image, the persona of an innocent angel is curated and carefully crafted by her PR team to offset the things that are going on, especially with like the home wrecking alleged situation. So I wonder if that's the case. And because she is so good at playing the role, she also became she started embodying the persona, the innocent persona, the angelic persona. And it also is connected to healing an inner child, which she spoke about in Zach Sang's interview about her Eternal Sunshine album. So I have many cards of archetypes, and I'm just going to introduce a few for now. So, an angel, a mystic, because she does claim to manifest and do magic, and she's also seems to be very sensitive to energies, as well as divine child. These are the archetype cards by Carolyn Myss. I'm not a trained psychiatrist, so all of this is alleged and for entertainment purposes only. It is just a subject that I'm deeply fascinated about. Let's talk about her actual mental health. So she has been diagnosed with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, likely because of the concert in Manchester, her own concert, where there was a terrorist attack. And some of her fans suffered greatly. And she even showed her brain scans. And then in the end of last year, there was a blind item. Allegedly, some of her family or friends mentioned that she was diagnosed with chronic dissociation / multiple personalities, which is weird because nowadays it's called dissociative identity disorder and not multiple personalities. So you would hear it as a DID, and it's a completely different thing from chronic dissociation. So that has been alleged and hasn't been really proven. And the thing is that the similar symptoms can be noticed in another condition. The symptom of loss of identity in the condition called BPD, or borderline personality disorder, which is interesting because her ex, Pete Davidson, also has it. And, borderline people tend to lose themselves in relationships and have them pretty volatile. And of course, how can we not mention the eating disorder that she seems to have been suffering from Nickelodeon days all the way back. Some peculiar eating habits that she mentions in her Tumblr back in the day. And hand in hand with that, what would go is body dysmorphia. So that's all of the possibility. We're gonna have to put into mental health section her fascination with Jeffrey Dahmer, as she talks about it in this interview.
My one thing aside is that years ago, before the Dahmer series, before it was in a Q&A with fans, with young fans. It was young fans at the time. It was I think it was in between like me being Kat and pop stuff. So it was a younger group. Okay. But it was with a parent. Someone said, if you could have dinner with anyone living or dead, who would it be? And I was like, oh, you're so cute. Who, Mom and Dad, is it okay if I give the real answer? And they were like, sure, I guess. What's the answer? And I was like, Jeffrey Dahmer's pretty fascinating. I think I would have loved to have met him. Maybe with a third party or something involved. But I have questions. I have a lot to, I don't know. I would love to. And the parents were like, we'll explain it later, sweetheart. And I was like, so I'll just sing problem and go home.
So a little bit of context, at least for you two, at least your mother is very into horror and this macabre kind of, not so, I wouldn't say not so morbid. She, from what I could understand in the world's longest 90-minute conversation we had, was
horror. She's gothy.
She loves Halloween. Which I thought it was this very charming. There's an element of performance there. She seems to love the what would you call that? I feel like there's a really great word for it. It's not camp. It's something else.
Thrill.
It's like, sure.
The thrill of it.
Yeah. And I thought it was very interesting that your family seems to have this. I imagine I imagine like before television it would have been you would have gathered around a fire to tell stories, but in this version
theatrical because that's really theatrical.
Yeah,
nothing is more campy than camping around a fire, and that's the most theatrical thing I've ever.
All right, we got the idea right about serial killer fascination. Just wondering, is that a mentally well thing? I mean, I think it ties into like our fascination with evil overall and drama, because evil is just unpredictable and hard to grasp, to this degree. I'm reading this book that I wanted to read for a very long time because I also always wrote diaries, and honestly, her prose is out of this world, and this is what she says about evil. Specifically, it's from her connection to Henry Miller. And he talks about his wife June as in, she wanted me to think her femme fatale. I am inspired by evil. It preoccupies me as it preoccupied Dostoevsky. And then later, Anais Nin writes about June as well. In a way, she did tell me that she was fascinated with evil, and that is why she tried to invent an evil life to interest you. In a way that I'm thinking about, to like put intrigue in their relationship. And later, Anais Nin also writes, I too am interested in evil. I want my Dionysian life, drunkenness and passion and chaos, and yet here I am, sitting at a kitchen table and working with Henry on the portrait of June, while Fred is making a stew. Ariana Grande, in her teenage years, acted in Nickelodeon shows, and it is fair to say that her identity formed under the influence of the literal roles, acting roles she played. And there were many speculations of sexual misconduct on the set, or sexual harassment by no one other than Dan Schneider, the producer. That was proved by other child actors, yet Ariana never said anything about it. However, she keeps saying that some of the years of her life got erased or forgotten. So some of those years she mentions were during the Nickelodeon years. This can also be described as consistent ego death, the necessity to lose yourself in a role and not having clear self. And also, we're gonna call identity as a basic filter of consciousness very important to our consciousness, and also that we can use consciousness and soul interchangeably in this essay. Yes, we're currently seeing that, especially during her Eternal Sunshine tour. Her fans are observing and taking videos of her in somewhat malnourished condition, and there was already confirmation of a few shows being cancelled due to production issues, and some people speculate that it's because the concert tickets are not being sold out or something, but I don't know. I feel like she's able to sell out arenas wherever she goes, so maybe she's actually not able to manage the full tour performing because it's physically demanding. And in terms of the soul, we have to of course mention the figurative or possibly literal selling of the soul that comes with the signing of the record deal, right? As that would be a part of all of the music industry contracts, allegedly, and affect most secular artists that decide to go the path of being backed by a label and promoting certain values being energetically owned, and to a certain degree, who knows what was actually in her contract, but it's possible that the loss of identity, loss of soul, they come gradually and drain you, right? Take your life force and maybe your body. This is where we can bring in potential mind control that is likely to be present in this kind of industry. Again, alleged. But why do monarch butterfly tattoos that she used to have and supposedly been removing, or it's either removal or actual makeup covering it? So how do monarch butterflies tie into MK Ultra? Let's see. MK Ultra is a declassified CIA experiment project that has to do with brainwashing through consistent trauma, and that disassociates people with their identity, and has certain triggers like visuals or words that shift the states of their victims. Yeah, so they do it through trauma, consistent repeated trauma. And Project Monarch is supposed to be a branch of MK Ultra, even though it hasn't been proven. So it's mostly like an urban legend by this point. It is very interesting that Ariana Grande had monarch butterfly tattoos and either had them removed or masked. So I wonder, what does that signify in regards to maybe liberation from certain parts of that programming? If repetitive triggering of trauma is used for mind control, then it is possible that they start from childhood. Therefore, we can tie in PDF file abuse, like Dan Schneider allegedly, into it, right? And see that disassociative states mentioned, as well as a potential fracturing of personality, could have started happening in this case during childhood and then throughout her career as well. And potentially something took turn also around Wicked, because how her state seemingly physically declined since starting being with Wicked, and a lot of people mentioned being disturbed by the emotional expression of her interviews with Cynthia Erivo, her co-star, and people who know ED, eating disorder symptoms. They say that it's normal and common to actually be extremely emotional and having a hard time with emotional regulation when you're starving yourself. All right, we have to speak about Brighter Days Ahead and the memory erasure.
Is in the can. What's the next step?
What do we got? The next step is the next step. It means it must come out. You know, it's been.
Do you have a release date?
You know what? They did the Brighter Days memory erasure treatment to me, so I'm having trouble remembering the details. They're foggy because at the Brighter Days clinic they do the memory erasure, you know?
If you could remember, struggle, tell me. Give me a date. Give me a date.
You know what? I'll have to go back to the clinic and see if they can restore my memory.
Is it going to be soon? Because the fans want to know, Ariana.
So soon. So, Mark, you have to learn the language of my fans because soon means 10 days or less. I'm not allowed to use that word at this moment.
So it's not less than 10 days.
I'm not going to use that word today. I'll say that. I love you. You're so naughty. What are you doing?
Because we want new music. So just give me a date. Give me a date. I won't tell anyone. I won't tell anyone.
You know, just keep your eyes peeled.
To your social media.
Did you see how uncomfy that was? The touch thing. By watching what happened to Justin Bieber and like things like this, it just confirms that, you know, people objectify you when you're in public eye and they want a piece of you in so many ways. A lot of people were like so confused and like calling her delusional for making this little joke, but the idea is actually that it's her project Brighter Days Ahead, which is a 26-minute long short film with a bunch of her. Basically, it's a story that connects all of the music videos of Eternal Sunshine album, and Eternal Sunshine album actually is influenced and is a concept album. It's influenced by Eternal Sunshine of Spotless Mind, which is a movie by Michel Gondry. An amazing movie. Highly recommend. And yeah, it deals with a memory erasure. And it's just a very beautiful short film. The Brighter Days Ahead, that is. And great music, and yeah, I do recommend. It does deal with memory erasure, so it is kind of like a little fun thing, right, on one hand, and then on the other hand, this is what happens when you actually dive into the potential conspiracy of this memory erasure clinic, because of how many times Ariana mentions actually having her memory erased, wiped, forgetting things, etc. Is it Mango? We are in love, my baby girl. She wishes you all much love and purse. So how insane is it that there is actual Brighter Days mental health clinic on Google? What do you think about this? brighterdaysclinic.com. They have 2.8 stars. We can even look at the reviews. So most reviews are like a week to a few months old, and then we have the oldest reviews, like year-old reviews. All of them are 1 star. So I wonder if a lot of this are just loved by the fans. Memory erasure treatments from year ago. What in the world are you doing to people? Local guides 6 months ago. Everyone who is over here not getting treatment should quit slandering this place until they have concrete evidence or dismay. By local guide Sarah Smile. Okay. Someone special came here that I know that I cannot speak upon the name, but they're not the same person anymore, and their memory was erased and can't even remember their name. 1 star. From a year ago, and then from 5 months ago, another person says, "Don't come here for your own well-being. I'm serious, don't come here." I don't know, some things are weird. There are some good reviews too. 3 months ago, best treatment ever. I'm not longer saddened or depressed. From 3 months ago, if anyone knows the location, please tell anyone and everyone. Protect our citizens. Let's look at their, well, first of all, just very regular picture here of the waiting room. Psychiatric nurse practitioner. What I found interesting, like, the website looks great. And then in the services, what I saw, let me see. Well, eating disorders. I was able to actually look up services before, like actual, there was something about timeline, reprogramming subconscious, reprogramming. I wonder if it's the same website. Let me see. Brighter Days, Cleaning Home, the same one. Interesting. There is also Brighter Days Recovery Center. I wonder why I'm not able to see the same services I saw before on the other website. Or I might trip in. We will not know, I suppose. Support groups, psychiatric rehabilitation. Okay. Education assisted training. Okay, I'm not gonna speculate much on anymore. Make your own conclusions. And write it in the comments. But I'm just so confused about this. I wonder if I followed a different website, headway.com. Let's see. Headway, no. I feel like they changed their website. Timeline therapy. That's what I remember, subconscious reprogramming. So it is, in a way, like a realistic therapy for reprogramming of your mind. Let's watch it, what some psychics are seeing and what's currently happening to Ariana.
My name is Soraya. I have and I practice the gift of spiritual and energetic discernment, and this is what I see when I look at this picture of Ariana. There's a lot to unpack. Now, I know there has been a lot of speculation on whether this is even a real photo. I do believe that this is a real picture. There may be aspects of it that might have been maybe retouched or enhanced in some way, but I do believe that this is a real picture. I had a very strong visceral reaction when I first saw this picture because there is so much going on energetically and spiritually in this photo. So anyway, let's get into it. The first thing that I see is there is an entity that is present as part of this performance. You actually can't see it very well like in this picture. It's more like behind or like in front of Ariana, but like further back on the stage. But I did an AI rendering of kind of what it looks like. And this is very similar to what it looks like to me. So it's a very large entity. He's very beautiful, but with a very sinister and dark energy. So as you can see, like there's energy that's being pulled from almost every single person. There's a couple people actually that the energy is not being pulled out of them, but there's energy that's being pulled out of all these people, and it's like it's being siphoned into Ariana through her back and then being pulled out of her directly by this negative entity. Now, as I said before, this is not exactly what I see. So he's not actually to the side of her like this, like he's a little bit smaller, like the representation is not perfect, but just for the sake of visualization, this is very similar to what I'm seeing.
What are we thinking about the entity called Apollo taking energy? All in all, that I think that whole thing is interesting to me. Like the
Hi, my name is Soraya.
The picture.
I have and I practice the gift of spiritual and energetic discernment.
Let me see. This picture somebody took is just so like fascinating because it seems like, you know, the person, the main character here is almost like praying, right? Or like catching a breath in between songs or dance moves, but her petite frame, it's just so difficult to look at and so sad to look at that. I really like this channeler, this person practicing spiritual discernment, Soraya from Heaven First Healing on TikTok. She's very fascinating at looking at discerning for people's imagery. It's important to know that Supernatural is a song from Eternal Sunshine that has a music video where she's literally taken up to the spacecraft in the rate of light, which is an abduction, and so it very well ties into the consumption by an entity narrative. And then she does the same thing at her shows, the same sort of performance of being taken up. And I also consider art creation as a spiritual channeling process, and being as an extremely gifted artist as she is, it would make sense for her art to come from a collaboration with multidimensional beings. and perhaps at a cost of her well-being. All right, and we have to include another psychic that came on the show, the Maverick Approach, the podcast, Lori Lux, or Lux. This is what she has to say about the energy field of our Miss AJ.
Oh.
No way I said AJ. That's not her initial. AG.
Ariana Grande, she's been looking crazy lately. Super skinny. And then what happened with...
I've had people that worked with her reach out to me and like say, you're 100% right. Can't work with this woman anymore.
Yeah, something just happened with her, right?
No. I mean, she had I think she keeps like breaking up with the dudes. She's like breaking up families and stuff. They keep saying like
I think
she's getting with different families,
and the guy that she was recently with was a handler of hers.
Wasn't she with old boy?
Who?
I can't keep up.
Who? Pete Davidson?
Yeah. She
that was a while ago.
He's a deadbeat dad now, apparently. Did you hear that?
Damn.
No, I didn't hear that.
Come on.
No, that's what I heard. He doesn't
Really?
take care of his kid.
Wow.
Damn.
I like that guy. I guess not.
You do?
I used to.
It's never been funny to me, but hey.
But so what's going on with her? Like, have you read her? What's her aura like?
It's a very similar issue with Selena Gomez. This interdimensional parasite, and it's very rare.
So they all smelling feet?
This thing goes in their eye, and usually it has to happen through a clone to get into the consciousness of the actual person.
Ask me which movie.
What
Which movie?
That was a clue.
Or actually, it's not a movie, but did you ever see the FX TV show, The Strain? I think it's called.
I haven't
Was that
seen
with
that.
Gwyneth Paltrow?
No.
No?
It wasn't Gwyneth Paltrow. It wasn't any like super big actor or anything. But The Strain, like they were parasites basically. Like, and they went through your damn eye.
Damn.
And these parasites, they're in the Bible. These are monsters from the underground.
Where are they in the Bible? Like, what part does that say?
I forgot which part, but they are
They're in
biblical.
the
I
Bible?
forgot which part though.
The show will probably be over by then. But give me 20 minutes and I will find that shit. Cause I
Yeah.
think she's right.
Yeah.
I don't remember which part.
I do think she's right.
So that's what's going on with her. That's why she lost so much weight, or
Well, they will literally eat everything in you. What does a parasite do?
yeah, they do that.
Eat everything in you.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. And what movie did she just do?
My cousin had a worm in her once in Peru, and it took a long time to get it out. She was skinny afterwards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wicked, right?
Wicked, yeah. Yeah. She really, that's when she really started looking
But
weird.
imagine-
I thought that was just for the movie.
Imagine this is a parasite it's not just a parasite. This is like a hybrid parasite. It's also a extraterrestrial parasite or an interdimensional parasite.
Mm.
So this is a parasite that wants to be human, wants to have a physical form so badly. Physical parasites have a physical form. This parasite has none. So it has to go in through somebody's vessel to come here on Earth. Just like anything, demonic being, ghost has to use a human vessel to be here on Earth, into our physical reality. So it has to go through her. And I've seen these things. Like they have their own personality. It's fucking weird. They go in and they go into a person and they have their own personality. And they're very envious, hateful, and they're very just ugly beings. They feel like the way I feel it as a psychic, it feels disgusting, like decay. And I know, like I've spoken to other people that are not psychic that know her personally, and they say they feel the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
So is that why she's hopping from guy to guy to kind of like siphon off energy?
I mean,
or
listen, if you had that much money and you were that good looking, I mean, come on, you know.
Is she good
What do you-
looking?
not anymore.
She used to
She
be.
used to
She used to be
be.
cute, but
She used to
now she
You can
looks,
have any celebrity you want, and you're at the top of your
She actually I was an extra at the time, but the thank you next video that she did back in the
Oh,
day.
really?
Yeah, I was in that.
Have you heard of the theory that parasites, like intestinal parasites or actual parasites, are demons? So we could replace the multidimensional parasites she's talking about here with demons or with entities, right? Connecting it to the Apollo vision of the other psychic or medium or person. It is fascinating. And the natural next question would be like, how do we know that, we have demons or parasites, multidimensional parasites, with us? Anyways, what do you think about this? Which part of it seems the most resonant for you, and which part seems like BS? And in the end of the day, does it feel like if your energy being eaten by an invisible energetic entity, then it could reflect in the state of your spiritual, psychological, and physical health, right? There are some other archetypes we might be able to find in Ariana's image: healer, lover, liberator, god, seeker, artist, and others. Pause to read. I'd like to send out a little prayer blessing spell to protect us as we are not welcoming. We are protecting ourselves, we are defending our boundaries and not welcoming any influences by any entities that are not benevolent. So I'm calling on to our spirit guides and Jesus Christ to protect us from any energy that might have been imposed on us, and let's take our energy back to ourselves. From any entity, being, or situation. And let's give back what's not ours to carry. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. Thank you, my darling siblings, for watching this video, and let's send a prayer for Ariana Grande's healing. Protection, and learn from this journey. Of course, spiritual hygiene is very important, and we'll need to learn more about it and be more careful with the spiritual practices that we do. Thank you for joining my journey today, and I hope you go and enjoy yours. Alright. It's time I stop playing around and sneeze. Sorry.